What the hell is going on? Republicans just passed a spending bill through the Senate, barely got it through with a tie, separated by J.D. Vance. What is it doing? Massive cuts for Medicare, say goodbye to your grandparents, snap cuts for poor people, slashing green energy, and not just cutting green energy funding. They're taxing it too. So it's going to make it even harder to fight climate change going forward, even harder to get cheap energy. But don't worry, that money is going somewhere. It's being spent on ICE to remove citizens from this country, to deport working people, deport people who go to church, love their families, work hard, just want to make money and have a better life. No, we got to get them the hell out of here. We got to send them to alligator prison down in Florida. We got to abuse their rights. We got to make sure they can't call anybody, can't have lawyers, deport them out of the country without a trial. That's where the money's going. And not just to them. It's also going to rich people. Huge cuts to taxes for the rich. Not to you, of course. You still have to pay whatever you were paying before. But rich people, they're paying way less. But actually, the cuts weren't enough. They wanted to give rich people even more money. So we're going into huge debt to do it. The deficit's skyrocketing. But that's not going to be spent by the politicians. They're not going to be the ones who have to pay for that debt. It's not going to be paid for by your parents or grandparents, the people who voted in the Republicans. It's going to be paid for by us, by the young people. When that debt comes due, we're going to be the ones that have to suffer for it. But who knows? It might not pass. Republicans, for all their bile and hatred and evil, are nothing if not incompetent. Let's remember, back when this originally passed the House, they barely got everybody on board. It was a clown show from the very start. They have no idea how to run their party, so they barely passed it with a 1-vote margin after having to strip a whole lot of horrible stuff, thankfully, from the bill. And then again in the Senate, a tie 50-50 having to be broken by the vice president. And even after that, having to remove a bunch of terrible things and having virtual ties in both houses, they messed up procedural items. So now that it's back in the House, it may not pass at all. There may be issues and they may have to restart the whole process all over again because of their sheer incompetence. At the end of the day, though, despite their incompetence, the Republican Party is a cult. And Trump is eventually going to get everybody on board. They're going to fall in line, and it's going to pass by the narrowest margins. Because no Republican has a spine. The only time a Republican has a spine is right when they're about to retire. When they've announced they're not going to run again, then they can speak against Trump. Because at the end of the day, Republicans are cowards. They're members of a cult who are unwilling to give up any power, any influence to do what's right. And there's some Republicans who are so spineless, who know that it's wrong, who know that what's happening is going to destroy the country. It's not going to be good for anybody. They know it's just going to line the richest pockets, specifically Trump's pockets. Let's talk about Lisa Murkowski. Republican from Arkansas, spoke out continuously against this bill. Speaks out against a lot of Republican bills. She always acts like she is not going to vote for it. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, she always votes for it if they need her vote, because she's a coward. And there's many Republicans like her. I know I said that the Senate bill only passed 50-50, because 3 Republicans voted against it. But if they needed those 3 votes, if there was 3 more Democrats in the Senate rather than Republicans, those 3 would have fallen in line too. The only reason they voted against it is because they could without hurting Trump. If Trump needed their votes, he would have gotten their votes, because they're cowards. And let's remember, every single Democrat voted against this. Every single one, in both the House and Senate. And when it goes back to Democrats a second time, in the House, in the Senate, I expect all of them to vote against it again. Because they're the party that actually knows what's good and what's bad and is willing to stand up for what's right in this country. There's issues with the Democrats too, but they're not going to take away health care from your grandparents. They're not going to take away food from poor people, and they're not going to deport citizens. So let's not act like this is two sides of the same coin. This is the Republican cult in full action, passing a bill that they know is bad for everybody, only to appease Trump's ego. Because he needs a win, because the Republicans are constantly losing, constantly breaking the law, and constantly taking bribes. This is Trump's ego and Trump taking another bribe. And don't forget it.